March 21, 2025. President Trump stands in the Oval Office and announces that Boeing has won the contract for America's first sixth-generation fighter, the F-47. Mach 2 speeds, 1,800-kilometer range, stealth technology that makes the F-35 look primitive. And in Tel Aviv, Israeli defense planners are watching because they just realized something terrifying. In 5 years, their enemies might have F-35s, and Israel needs to decide, do they buy America's new superweapon, or do they finally build their own? Let me set the scene for you. Right now, in 2026, Israel operates the most advanced F-35 variant in the world, the F-35I Adir. They were the first international customer, the first to use it in combat, the first to customize it with Israeli-made radar, electronic warfare systems, and weapons. It's not just an F-35, it's an Israeli F-35, configured specifically to hunt Iranian air defenses, Hezbollah bunkers, and Syrian command centers. And for 2 decades, this gave Israel an unshakable advantage. But now, the United Arab Emirates wants F-35s, Saudi Arabia wants F-35s, Qatar, Morocco, Egypt, Bahrain, they all want F-35s. Even Turkey, kicked out of the F-35 program years ago for buying Russian S-400 missiles, is lobbying to get back in. Now, here's the agreement Israel has with the United States. It's called Qualitative Military Edge, or QME. It's a legal guarantee that any weapons the U.S. sells to Israel must be superior in capability to what's sold to Israel's neighbors. For decades, this worked. Israel got the best F-16s, the best F-15s, the best missiles. But the F-35 changed everything. Because the F-35 isn't just one plane, it's an ecosystem. Every F-35 shares data. They operate as a network. And if Saudi Arabia gets F-35s, even downgraded export versions, they'll have access to the same sensor fusion, the same stealth profile, the same tactical picture. An Israeli defense official told the Jerusalem Post, if Arab nations acquire the F-35, Israel may need to reassess its strategy. Translation, we might lose our edge. And that brings us to the F-47. So what is the F-47? It's Boeing's 6th-generation air superiority fighter, the successor to the F-22 Raptor. And it's not just an upgrade, it's a revolution. Here's what we know. Combat radius, over 1,000 nautical miles, 1,800 kilometers. Speed, Mach 2 plus. Stealth, next-level low observability, even better than the F-35. Eye integration, can command 1,000 plus autonomous drones. Cost, estimated $170 to $300 million per aircraft. First flight, 2028. Operational, 2029. The F-35 was designed to kick down the door, penetrate air defenses, destroy radar sites, create chaos. The F-47 is designed to own the sky. It will fly with AI-controlled drone wingmen, Collaborative Combat Aircraft, or CCAs. These drones scout ahead, they draw enemy fire, they jam radars, they launch missiles at targets the F-47 designates, all while the manned fighter stays safely back. Think of it this way, the F-47 is the quarterback, the drones are the offensive line, and together they'll dominate airspace in ways we've never seen. The US is building this plane specifically for China. Long range, high endurance, able to operate across the vast Pacific without constant refueling. But here's what matters to Israel. That 1,800-kilometer combat radius, it covers the entire Middle East. From a base in Israel, an F-47 could strike Tehran and return without refueling. So the question Israeli planners are asking is, should we buy it? On one hand, the F-47 would guarantee air superiority for the next 40 years. No regional power, not Iran, not Turkey, not Saudi Arabia, could match it. But here's the problem: cost. Each F-47 costs 2 to 3 times more than an F-35. Israel's entire annual defense budget is $24 billion. If they buy F-47s, they might only afford 10 to 15 aircraft. Compare that to 175 F-16s currently in service, 84 F-15s, 50-plus F-35s with more on order. For the price of 15 F-47s, Israel could instead buy 40 additional F-35s, 10 new Iron Dome batteries, 3 more Dolphin submarines. So here's the strategic question. Is it better to have a small number of invincible aircraft or a large fleet of very good ones? But there's a third option that Israel tried before and failed. Build their own.
1980s. Israel is spending nearly 19% of its GDP on defense. For context, the US spends about 3%. Israel is surrounded by enemies: Syria, Iraq, Egypt, Jordan. And their air force is flying aging A-4 Skyhawks and K-Fear fighters. Good planes, but getting old. So Israel Aircraft Industries, IAI, proposes something audacious. Let's build our own fighter. The IAI Lavi, Hebrew for lion. It was beautiful. Single engine, delta wing with canards, lightweight, 1,300 kilograms lighter than an F-16. Advanced fly-by-wire system, indigenous Israeli avionics, designed for both air-to-air and ground attack. And it worked. Test pilots called it excellent. It was agile, it was powerful, it could carry heavy payloads over long distances. Israel planned to build 300 of them, enough to replace their entire aging fleet. But then reality hit. Problem number 1: cost. The program was supposed to produce 300 aircraft, but by 1987, Israel could only afford 150. At that production volume, each Lavi cost more than just buying American F-16s. Problem number 2: American pressure. The Lavi looked almost identical to the F-16. U.S. defense contractors lobbied Congress. Israel is building a competitor to our export fighter. And since the U.S. was funding much of Israel's defense budget, they had leverage. Problem number 3: no engine. Israel had no experience building high-performance jet engines. They had to import the Pratt & Whitney PW1120, essentially an F-16 engine. That meant they were dependent on the U.S. for the most critical component anyway. August 1987. The Israeli cabinet votes 12-11. The Lavi is canceled. The vote tore the country apart. Engineers wept. Politicians screamed. Defense Minister Moshe Aarons, the Lavi's biggest champion, called it a historic mistake. The prototypes were mothballed, the production line shut down, and Israel went back to buying American fighters. Today, if you visit the Israeli Air Force Museum, you can see a Lavi on display, a reminder of what could have been. Moshe Aarons said in 2013, if we hadn't canceled the Lavi, the Israeli Air Force would be operating the world's most advanced fighter today, upgraded with modern technology and combat experience. But here's the thing. Israel is thinking about trying again. Fast forward to 2025, the Jerusalem Post reports that Israel is exploring partnerships to co-develop a next-generation fighter by 2028. Not build it alone, that's the lesson from Lavi, but build it with partners. Who could Israel partner with?
India is developing its own stealth fighter, the AMCA, Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. Israel and India have deep defense ties. India buys billions in Israeli weapons every year. A joint Israeli-Indian fighter could split costs, increase production, and create a powerful alternative to Western jets. Option 2. Global Combat Air Program, GCAP. Japan, Britain, and Italy are building a sixth-generation fighter together. Could Israel join? Maybe. Britain and Israel have strong intelligence ties. Japan needs advanced avionics, Israel's specialty. Option 3. Future Combat Air System, FCAS. France and Germany are developing their own sixth-gen fighter. But this one's complicated. Germany has been reluctant to sell Israel certain weapons due to political pressure. Less likely. Option 4. South Korea. South Korea just developed the KF-21, a 4.5-generation fighter. They're planning a stealth variant, and they're hungry for international partners to share costs. Israel has avionics expertise. South Korea has production capacity. Could work. Here's why this makes sense. Israel doesn't need to build the whole plane. What Israel is world-class at: radar systems, the EL-M-2052 AESA radar; electronic warfare, the Elisra SP-2000 suite; avionics and software; precision weapons, like the Spice bombs and Python missiles; helmet-mounted displays, the Dash IV. What Israel struggles with: engine manufacturing, large-scale airframe production, massive capital investment. So the idea is, partner with a country that has engines and production capacity. Israel provides the brain, the sensors, software, and weapons. The partner provides the body, the airframe and engine, and, critically, share the cost. If India wants 200 fighters and Israel wants 100, you're building 300 aircraft. That's how you make it affordable. That's the mistake they made with Lavi, trying to do it alone. But there's a problem. The Trump administration is pushing Israel hard to buy American. Reports suggest the U.S. has made it clear: if you want the new security assistance package, buy our F-47, buy our F-15EX, buy American. So Israel faces a choice. Option A, buy the F-47, maintain the U.S. relationship, get the best fighter in the world, but stay dependent forever. Option B, partner with India, Japan, or South Korea. Build indigenous capability, gain strategic independence, but risk alienating Washington. Option C, do nothing. Keep upgrading F-35s and F-15s. Hope the qualitative edge holds, but watch as neighbors slowly catch up. There's no easy answer. Let me tell you why this matters. In June 2025, Israeli F-35Is penetrated Iranian airspace and struck nuclear facilities deep inside the country. They flew undetected. They hit their targets. They came home. 0 losses. That's what air superiority buys you. Compare that to Syria. In 2018, Syria fired dozens of surface-to-air missiles at Israeli jets. They shot down one F-16, the first Israeli combat loss in 36 years. Air superiority isn't just about winning, it's about not losing. Every time an Israeli pilot takes off, their family waits, and the difference between coming home and not coming home is often a matter of seconds: a better radar, a faster missile, a stealthier aircraft. Now imagine this. 2030, Saudi Arabia has 50 F-35s, Turkey has 40, the UAE has 30, and Israel, still flying upgraded F-15s from the 1970s? That's the nightmare scenario. Not that Israel would lose a war, but that the cost of winning would become unbearable. The F-47 prevents that nightmare. It guarantees that no matter what anyone else buys, Israel stays ahead. But an indigenous fighter or a partnership fighter offers something the F-47 can't: freedom. Freedom to integrate any weapon. Freedom to export to allies without U.S. approval. Freedom to operate without worrying that one day Washington might withhold spare parts. Israel has been dependent on American fighters since 1948, and for 80 years it's worked. But the world is changing. Maybe it's time for Israel to fly on its own wings. So here's where we are. The F-47 exists. It's real, it's coming, and Israel is watching.
Right now, in rooms we'll never see, Israeli planners are making calculations. How much will the F-47 cost? Can we afford it? Will the US even sell it to us? And if our neighbors get F-35s, is the F-47 our only option? Or can Israel finally build what Lavi should have been? Not alone, that was the mistake, but with partners, with India, with Japan, with South Korea. A fighter that's 30% Israeli brains, 70% international muscle. The target date is 2028. 3 years. The ghost of Lavi still haunts Israeli defense planning, a reminder of ambition, of failure, of what could have been. But maybe, just maybe, this time will be different, because the stakes have never been higher, and air supremacy has never been more expensive. The decision is coming, and it will define Israel's Air Force for the next 50 years. So here's my question for you. If you were an Israeli defense planner, what would you choose? Option A, buy the American F-47, the best but stay dependent. Option B, build an indigenous fighter with international partners, riskier but independent. Option C, stick with F-35s and F-15s and hope they're enough. Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what you think. And if you want to see how the F-35 Adir became the most customized stealth fighter in the world, I just broke that down, link in the description. Hit subscribe. This channel dives deep into the tech, strategy, and politics that shape modern warfare. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.